Welcome to today's CRM Magazine web event, brought to you by ServiceMax. I'm David Myron, Editorial Director of CRM Magazine, and I'll be the moderator for today's broadcast. Our presentation today is titled, Sales and Marketing Must Align, this time with Field Service. Before we start, allow me to explain how you can participate in the live broadcast. At the end of the event, there will be a question and answer session. If you have a question during the presentation, just type it into the question box provided and click on the Submit button. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but if your question has not been answered during the show, you will receive an email response to it within a few days. And we'll have a few polling questions that we'd like you to participate in. If you do, we'll share the results live during the event. Now, let's introduce our speakers for today's event. Stacey Epstein is the Chief Marketing Officer at ServiceMax, and Dan Seferati is the Senior Solutions Consultant at ServiceMax. To review the speakers' bios, please click on the speaker icon on the bottom of the console. Now, let's pass the event over to Stacey Epstein, Chief Marketing Officer at ServiceMax. Welcome to the broadcast, Stacey.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Great to have you all on the line today. As a marketing professional, today I get to talk about something that's very near and dear to me, which is how sales and marketing should really align with field service. So first, let me start by telling you about ServiceMax, the other topic that's near and dear to my heart. At ServiceMax, our mission is to empower every field service team in the world to deliver flawless field service, and that's really our charter. We make a full suite of field service applications to help drive flawless field service in organizations. And what does flawless field service mean to us? It means perfecting service delivery, maximizing growth and revenue, and delighting customers. And that's what flawless field service is to us. Sorry, I'm waiting for the slides to catch up to me. They're a little bit behind me, so there you go. And let's talk a little bit about what field service used to look like yesterday. It used to be that people thought about field service as just the problem of fixing an issue in the field and solving it. So customers got a problem, they make a phone call, the vendor looks for a technician to solve the problem, they fix it, and that's the end of it. Sorry, I can see what you guys are seeing, and it's a little behind me, so we'll wait for it to catch up. But field service delivery perfected requires a much broader and deeper view to this, and it starts at the moment a product is purchased. Do you have maintenance agreements in place? Do you have a preventative maintenance schedule in place? All the way through to having the data to analyze it. And you can see here in the service delivery chain, there's a lot more than just scheduling a technician that drives flawless field service for an organization. And what I've done is I've highlighted in this slide in bold all the areas where sales and marketing should be aligned with field service in order to drive more revenue and growth out of the field service process. And if we look at what the industry experts are hearing, the folks at Gartner and Aberdeen Group and Technology Services Industry Association and others tell us a pretty consistent story when it comes to the top priorities for service organizations. The three most important goals are pretty clear, and number one is drive service revenues. I think a lot of people think about field service as a cost savings or an efficiency and productivity play, but really organizations are looking to drive revenue as their number one goal out of field service. And this is why sales and marketing really needs to align with field service in order to achieve those objectives. Here's another report from the Service Council which really reinforces the previous slide. Revenue is at the top of your agenda if you're a service leader, closely followed by reducing costs and, of course, improving satisfaction and increasing productivity. But now let's get into why this is. And I think it really comes from the top. All organizations are trying to drive revenue. Imagine when your manager comes out of the boardroom where the CEO has indicated what he's looking for this fiscal year, and this graphic pretty much sums it up. The CEO and everyone in the organization is looking to make service into a profit center. Sorry, waiting for my slides to catch up. So the face of service is changing, and it's changing fast. I've been in this industry for multiple decades, which shows you how old I am. But at Clarify, in the early days, we used to talk about how service could change from a cost center to a profit center. This has been a goal for organizations for a really long time. But I really think with the advent of new technology, especially cloud technology and mobile technology in the last 10 years, this has finally given service the opportunity to become the profit center that they've always wanted to be. And because of that, service is in the limelight. So now I want to dive a little deeper into this and look at 3 detailed ways why and how field service can align with sales and marketing to really drive that kind of revenue growth in the organization. And the number one way to do this is to utilize your greatest asset. So a picture you saw earlier, this is Alfonso. He's a technician from McKinley Equipment Corporation in Southern California. They make and service elevator equipment. So elevators that are big freight elevators that are used in warehouses and residential elevators that are used in homes. And you can see him with his iPad. He's probably taking a picture of something to log. But he is really the greatest asset. And as you look at your technicians as your asset, you need to realize, first of all, there's almost as many service technicians in the U.S. as there are salespeople. And not only that, but these are often the people that are the only face-to-face interaction you have with your customers. I often say that the most important interaction point between you and your customer is maybe second only to when they decide to make a purchase, but the most important interaction point is when that customer has a broken product. And you need to figure out how you're going to fix that fast and drive uptime, but also customer satisfaction. And it is your technician that is responsible for doing that. And because of that, the technician is the eyes, ears, and face of your brand. And so as brand managers and marketers, we need to make sure that interaction point is a good one. But also these can be the source of a great deal of revenue. So if we just look at simple math here, these trusted advisors, if there's 5.5 million of them in the United States alone, if they just drove $1 in revenue, that would be $1.2 billion in revenue just driven by field service technicians. So maybe just some simple math there, but there's a great asset here in our field service technicians. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we can drive growth with these technicians. But first, I'm going to pause and let us take a poll.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Our first poll question reads, do your field service techs sell services? Please pick one of the following: yes, no, or don't know. And while we're waiting for our viewers to respond, let's take a look at some of the companies that are represented in our viewing audience. We have people viewing from Rocky Mountain Equipment, All Power Labs, Centerpoint Energy, Rockwell Collins, Radix Fire Protection, 3M, Philip Morris, United Parcel Service, and Philips Healthcare, to name a few. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the poll results. They're all in. In response to the question, do your field service techs sell services? It looks like we have a split between yes and no at 47.6%. So right down the middle with a little under 5% saying they don't know. So interesting responses there. So with that, let's pan it back over to Stacy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, obviously it means we have a huge opportunity there. It's great to see that half of you are doing it, but I'm glad the other half of you that are on this call, hopefully I can share some insight into how other companies are doing it. And those of you that don't know, I have something for you as well at the end of this presentation that might help you. We did our own survey, and we found, I guess, pretty similar results. About 42% have a strategy implemented. Only 15 have an actual strategy in place. So a lot of you are still figuring this out. So let me go into a little bit more detail of some examples of how technicians can do this. Of course, not all services need to be physically connected to the device or even related to repair service. For example, companies that equip service technicians with information and tools to sell relevant items such The challenge for the business here was that there were lots of competitors making inks. Okay, so this is a company that makes ink. You can probably guess who it is, for printers. And field service didn't see this as their problem to solve. It didn't matter to the tech servicing the equipment where the customer bought the consumables for these printing devices. So they had nothing in place to incent technicians to sell ink for the printers. The printers were just, their only job was to fix the printer. So in this organization, the sales manager worked with a service manager to figure out a simple way to incent the field engineers to sell more of these consumables. And with the right incentives in place, the techs can get pretty creative to make things happen. So think of a technician who's there and says, hey, I noticed you're low on ink. Since I'm fixing this printer, I can give you a quick discount for a huge volume purchase of ink, and now suddenly technicians are upselling these consumables that were never part of their charter. So just thinking creatively about how you can take advantage of that opportunity of having technicians inside the four walls of your customers and putting some incentive programs in place. And I think in the past, without technology and without mobile devices, it was hard to put these incentives into the hands of the technicians. So second example is, I mentioned them earlier when I showed you the picture of Alfonso. This is McKinley Equipment Corporation. Again, they make elevator equipment, and they put in a program that they call the Dash One program. And this is an incentive program designed to get the McKinley technicians to upsell services or look for quote opportunities for more complex jobs and installations. So Kevin Russin, the CFO, actually said to me that there's nothing he likes to do more than pay out dollars to his techs in the Dash One program, and that was a quote. Again, when do you hear CFOs being so happy to pay out dollars to anyone? But I think in the past their issue was that the incentive scheme was very paper intensive. Tracking it, putting it into the hands of technicians, documenting it, and understanding how to incent them to upsell was a very labor intensive process. And if you made a mistake, you lost complete credibility with your technicians. But now within ServiceMax, this is all done automatically. At month end, Kevin runs a report and he cuts the checks. So, this has been really a great program for McKinley. And as Kevin says, we have technicians in the pipeline wanting to come work at McKinley. Now, McKinley is seen as this cutting-edge organization that not only equips their technicians with iPads and mobile devices, but actually pays them extra to incent them to upsell. So I think as we're concluding on this section about technicians, incentives and being able to track incentives and just getting the technicians into the mindset that they can be salespeople in addition to being trusted advisors and technicians gets you a big step of the way there. And now let's look at sales and the sales organization and field service. And we like to say this is, technicians are your real inside sales team. I keep saying this. They're the few people from your organization that can get inside the four walls of your company, but also can communicate directly with your sales team and with your marketing team. So I'll give you an example of this in a minute, but great service can help win deals, and you can leverage that trusted advisor to give you insight into what's going on in the rest of the organization to upsell new products and not just services, but also understand where you can displace the competition. So let's look again at another example, and this is from a live customer. This is a screenshot of their iPad app within ServiceMax, and let's look at ServiceMax in action supporting revenue growth here. So this, again, a screenshot of an iPad app that we've built, and we build interactive and intuitive solutions into the product to allow you to capture all revenue opportunities through the technician. So on the left, you can see where the engineer can hit the sales and marketing tab and place a sales lead instantly without fuss and with full tracking. So basically, again, the technician is saying, hey, I'm seeing an opportunity, and hopefully you all can read this. I know it's very small text. But basically, they're saying they're noticing that there is a good opportunity for a salesperson to come back and upsell product. Because we are very tightly integrated with the CRM, we're actually built native to Salesforce One on the Salesforce One platform. So all of you using Salesforce for your sales CRM, this is natively integrated. So this lead automatically becomes a lead in your CRM for your sales rep. And technicians and salespeople never had this ability to communicate within the system. And these leads and opportunities that technicians are recognizing because they're within the customer, they never happen. Or maybe he jots it down on a piece of paper and forgets to take it out of his pocket. But now it's happening seamlessly within the system, and you're sure that you don't miss leads. Here's another great example of improving competitive advantage. Again, these guys are your eyes and ears inside your customer, and a technician often can look around and see where your competitors are installed at the customer site. So lots of our customers build fields into our solution where they have the technicians tracking not only the install base for their products, but also the install base for competitors' products. So they give the salesperson great insight into where there might be displacement opportunities. So as you see in this example of this iPad, he's noticing some competitors' equipment there. Maybe it's older equipment. Maybe there is a new machine by them that they can replace that with. And so again, this insight goes directly to your salesperson. So this is another great way that field service can align with sales and really bring benefits to the sales organization. So here are just 6 more examples of the benefits to sales. I think also, and McKinley has another example from McKinley has done a great job of this, is using service as their competitive differentiator. They saw their first-time fix rates go up. They saw their uptime for their customers go up. They were able to offer guarantees and service level agreements to customers during sales cycles that help them win deals. So they went out and said, hey, we guarantee you we'll fix it the first time in their contract with the customer, and they can do that because they know they can do that with ServiceMax, and that competitive advantage helps them win more deals. I think we talked about visibility into install base. Service history, I'm going to go into detail a little bit more a little later as we talk about data, but having that history of what's going on at a customer can give you that insight to sell new products and offerings. Real-time service alerts, I want to know when my customer is having a problem, not only because I want to fix it quickly, but because as a salesperson, that gives me insight into where I might have opportunities. Maybe they've been having lots of problems with a machine because the machine is old and outdated, and I can go sell them a new one. But I wouldn't know that if I didn't have access to these service alerts. We've talked about upsell opportunities and even just ensuring renewals. You would be surprised, and maybe some of you wouldn't be surprised because you're in this boat, but we find that a lot of our customers have been tracking their warranty agreements and their contracts in filing cabinets or in back office ERP systems that they have no access to. So when renewal time comes up, they don't even know that they should be alerting their customer to renew it. And for some of our customers, that's millions of dollars in lost revenue. So lots of ways that field service can benefit sales. And we'll move on to marketing. Again, here, near and dear to my heart is marketing. We talked about the brand presence. I mean, when your technician walks up to the door and they've got the address and phone number written down on a piece of paper and they're late and they don't even know exactly what they're there to fix, obviously that's a terrible brand portrayal for you. We've all seen the video of the Comcast technician who fell asleep on the couch, or the FedEx delivery man who threw the box over. I mean, you want your technician to show up with an iPad or a cutting-edge tablet and know exactly why he's there to fix the problem. I mean, this truly does reflect on the brand impression. And for marketing, that's what I want to convey, is a cutting-edge, on-time, intelligent technician showing up to fix the problem. Driving customer loyalty. So again, field service technicians are responsible for that very important moment of interaction with a customer when they've got a problem or something broken. And customers talk. People post videos on YouTube, and just as much as they post unhappy things and say unhappy things, they also talk about how they're delighted with service. If they have a great interaction with a technician, they're going to talk about that too. And as a marketing person, I care about that. I care about word of mouth and what people are saying. Competitive intelligence, I mean, we talked about that. As technicians gather intel about where competitive things are installed at customers, I can run campaigns. I can run replacement campaigns. I can target directly customers with a message that's tailored to them because I know what they're using today. And that is gold for a marketing organization. And ultimately, what we're talking about today is winning more business. I can leverage the data for campaigns, as I just said, and I can offer these more profitable service offerings like stronger service level agreements as a marketing organization. So since we're talking about service offerings, let's dive into that a little bit, because I do think that having the ability to offer more sophisticated and complex service offerings can be of great value. And a lot of technology and tools just don't allow for this. So long-term contracts, the offer of a predictable annuity stream that attenuates the periodic painful troughs in sales. And that's one of the reasons why CEOs are now waking up and seeing the potential of their service business. So I guess the questions for you are, we could do a poll, but I think we have another poll later, but just think about this to yourself. Are you measuring attrition in your customer base? Do you understand why your customers choose to leave? Do you have a compelling value proposition? And have you refreshed your service offerings? So again, you know, the point is understanding the loyalty drivers within your business and then creating tailored service offerings to help meet that loyalty, drive that loyalty, and ensure that that loyalty continues. So attach rates is another area of focus that we can look into. And this is going back to the bond with your sales team. So a service contract that isn't signed, are we behind on slides? Sorry. We're good? Okay. A service contract that's not signed at the point of sale is a massive revenue opportunity loss. It seems so simple, but having technicians that have to get a piece of paper signed before they leave, often that's just problematic. Where does that paper go? Do they have to fax it back in? Does it just go into a stack of paper in their van that never gets turned in? I mean, it seems very, very simple, but you know, the industry average for attach rates is really only 67%. So I've seen best-in-class companies reduce commissions for salespeople if they don't sign a service contract up at the point of sale, and I wonder if everybody is doing similar. This IDC report clearly references the fact that 70 to 90% of the lifetime cost of equipment is in maintenance and repair. So if you lease equipment with a bundled service contract for the duration of a lease, then you can see a great way to secure long-term recurring revenues. Tracking the warranty period in the system, as we talked about earlier, you want to automatically offer people an opportunity to renew their contract. And thinking about time and materials rates, so that they're making sure they're competitive so that it's more advantageous for customers not to take a contract and risk a breakdown charge. I think finally the main point here of this iPad screen that we're showing you is how easy it is for a technician. They literally cannot close this work order and get their next job assigned to them until they have a signature from the customer. Something very simple. We're used to it. We're getting used to it, signing things on iPads, but I think putting that into the hands of your technician can make a big impact. So this chart, waiting for slides to catch up, on service innovation, it's a testament to the fact that leading companies are thinking about service more holistically and strategically than before. For these companies, service is not limited to cutting costs and honoring warranty obligations. It's more about becoming strategic and playing a key role in companies helping achieve their strategic and revenue goals. So the smart companies are diversifying and offering customers differing service levels and choice. The days of M&As driving growth are being overtaken now by CEOs realizing the gem that sits within their own organization, and developing these new compelling service offerings is a key element to growth. And companies are now realizing that while equipment service is critical to brand loyalty and product differentiation, it also offers an excellent source of revenue. And service revenue not only carries a high profit margin, but also, when delivered through long-term contracts, offers a predictable annuity stream that attenuates the periodic painful trough in sales, which I discussed earlier. And so finally, my last point about driving revenue in your service organization by aligning with sales and marketing is the data. And before I dive into this topic of service data, which is a topic that I bet is near and dear to a lot of you, we're going to take another poll.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Our next poll question reads, who in your organization has access to service data to better understand customer opportunities? Please select one of the following: sales, marketing, finance, engineering, or IT. And while we're waiting for the poll results, I just wanted to remind our viewers that, as I stated before, there will be a question and answer session at the end of the broadcast. If you have a question during the presentation, just type the question box provided and click on the submit button. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but if your question has not been selected during the show, you will receive an email response to it within a few days. All right, so it looks like the poll results are in, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at those. And in response to the question, who in your organization has access to service data, it looks like a little under half, 46.7%, said sales, and about a third said marketing, with 20% saying IT. So interesting that sales leads the way. With that, hand it back over to you, Stacy.
Yes, I was very interested to see how this poll was going to go. A lot of our prospects and customers talk about how challenging it is to get data and to get real-time data. So my guess is even some of you that have access to the data, you might be seeing it well in the past. We have one customer who, during the sales cycle, told us that he would have to go to IT and give a cost justification to have a simple report built and be asked to fund $10,000, because that's how challenging it is to build a simple report in some of these older on-premise solutions that companies are using. And because of that, you're managing service management out of your rear window instead of being able to react quickly and be agile because of real-time data. And so this is just a sample of some of the dashboards that you can look at. And these are some dashboards that the CFO at McKinley uses to track revenues on both sides of the business, not just sales, but also service. And you can also see trends this year versus last year. I mean, this just gives you the example of the power of dashboards, but you can see real time what's going on in your organization and again, respond quickly to it. So this next slide, this information was taken from one of our big European customers to show the number of products installed in the field. What they wanted to see was how many of those products had received a service call in the last 12 months. And you can see that a bit over 3,000 assets had received a service call in the last 12 months. But what this also shows is that there are nearly 18,000 assets that have not received a service call in the last 12 months. So you can imagine the opportunity here. This is low-hanging fruit to go back into these accounts to check on the product. Do they have spare parts needs, service needs? Are they even using the product? Maybe you can upsell them a newer model. So this report also showed a large number of lost or unknown assets that represent a potential upside opportunity to service contracts or even spare parts. And the point here is to use data available to you in the systems in order to uncover not just, how broken are my customers or how well is my service team fixing problems, but to really uncover the new potential revenue sources in your install base through service. And here is another jewel in the crown, entitlement codes. We talked about entitlement earlier and how many companies are tracking entitlements in a filing cabinet, or they maybe don't even have warranty schedules because they know they can't track it. But you can, again, here see an actual screenshot from our iPad app where a technician can really understand what the customer is entitled to before they deliver them service. So, we see technicians need to be crystal clear about the contract. Do they pay for travel? Do they pay for parts? Do they pay for consumables for a preventative maintenance call? Are they in warranty? Are they out of warranty? If the technician doesn't know any of this, then there's much lost revenue in this interaction with the customer. One of our chief of customer transformation here, who comes from the service industry, always says that if you give a field service technician an opportunity, the choice of either giving it away for free or charging for it, they'll give it away for free every time. These are service people. They want to make the customer happy. And if they don't know whether they need to charge or not, they're not going to charge. So putting this entitlement information in their hands at the point of service helps them, and they can even show the customer, oh, I see that you're on this type of warranty agreement, so your service today is free. Or, oh, I see that you need to pay for this service today, and I can see that right here on my iPad, and let me just get your signature so that we can bill you. So again, entitlement codes, a huge jewel in the crown and great to have in the hands of a technician. And you can see here, this is just the screen that's showing where the engineer has that moment of decision and he decides whether it's a billing event or a non-billing event. A lot of companies don't even have access to the data that tells them whether technicians are giving stuff away free or not. So it's not just data for you and data for your sales and marketing teams. It's data that gets put into the hands of the technician who are making those revenue decisions at the point of service. So this is just kind of continuing through discussing this example, but this is showing free charges by these technicians. So you can have this insight at a technician level of like, hey, who's giving it away for free? Who's submitting it and getting approval before they give it away for free? And that kind of insight was really not available to organizations in the past. Sorry. And again, just showing you more screens of incidental costs that just get stacked up in many businesses and get lost in the weeds. And in this case, we're showing an example of costs like phone support, travel charges, hotels, etc. This can all be tracked and reported on using ServiceMax, and it leads you to the holy grail within service, which is the ability to have profitability reporting by individual contract, by region, by customer, by country, by technician, etc. So a granularity and data that most service organizations have just not had before. And I'm just going to start to close out today by talking about the impact of ServiceMax. And I don't intend this to be a sales pitch here, but we did do a survey of our customers, which we do every year. We did it earlier this year to understand the ROI for implementing a technology tool like ServiceMax. And, of course, lots of productivity gains. There's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained by automating field service, but 22% increase in service revenue across the aggregate of our customers, pretty significant return. So it is achievable, this 22% increase in service revenue. I mean, these are just some examples that I've already gone through and elaborated upon earlier in this presentation. Lots of opportunities to drive this service revenue to, again, change your service function and especially your field service function, which can be laden with cost, and turning it actually into a profit center and put ServiceMax into the limelight. So I leave you with this final slide, which we call the money slide, the 8-ball question, and I'll ask you to think about these to yourselves, 4 vital questions. Are you using your best resources for revenue generation, which is your technicians? Are you investing in soft skills training and putting incentives in place to drive revenues with technicians? Second, do you use all the resources you have at the point of sale to ensure you have industry-leading attach rates? Do you measure contract retention? Are you in control of retention, and do you have a compelling reason for your customers to re-sign with your organizations? Are there dollars sitting on the floor in your company? Do you have entitlement linkage or warranty leakage that you can bind shut through systems and trainings? And I just hope that today I've sparked some interest and demonstrated some examples of how you can turn your organization into profit powerhouses and really make sure that field service is aligning with sales and marketing to achieve that objective. And we're going to move into a quick demonstration by Dan Seferati here from ServiceMax. But I hope that you guys have been typing any questions you have into the panel, and we will also open this up for questions at the end after Dan shows his demo. And in the meantime, I'll say if we do run out of time, because I think Dan's got a great demo to show, you can always reach out to us at info@servicemax.com, or you can email me directly at stacy.epstein@servicemax.com, and we'd be happy to answer questions directly. I think, Dan, you're ready to go, so I'll let you take it over.
Excellent. Thank you, Stacy. And again, thank you all for attending today's presentation. Really what we're going to do is we're going to walk through a typical service call and how that service call can become a potential sales opportunity, a lot of what Stacy's been going through today as we went through this. So, essentially, we're going to go ahead and start with a case where a customer calls in, get a complete customer 360 view of what's going on. When we realize we need to send somebody out there, we're going to go ahead and create a work order. Within ServiceMax, we can have many different types of work orders, such as break fix, preventive maintenance, depot repair. You can define your own as well. The sample we're going to go through today is a break fix. The ability to check history, schedule, and dispatch, as well as, Stacy even touched on it, parts and logistics capabilities, all within ServiceMax. And then I'm going to put my technician hat on, where we have the capability of bring your own device, go through some navigation capabilities. How's the tech going to be able to get to where they need to go? Time and materials capture, and then kind of what Stacy's been talking about this whole time is, how we can capture a lead out in the field, and then finally watch all of that flow back into the sales organization where you can manage your leads. And then ultimately, what we're providing here is end-to-end field service, which is fully integrated with the sales and marketing team. All right, so with that, go ahead and jump into the application. All right, so I'm currently logged in as a customer service representative for ultrasound equipment. For those of you who are familiar with Salesforce.com, some of these things may look familiar to you. If you take a look at the menu options across the top, this is where, such as accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, campaigns, those are your typical sales and marketing objects. But we've also added, because ServiceMax is built on top of the Salesforce platform, we've added things such as locations, work orders. We've extended the case object, installed products, parts, and service contracts. And we'll talk about more into these as we go through this. From a dashboard capability, I can see, how things are aging from a work order standpoint. Key thing, managing that that gold or that key asset that we were talking about is field resource utilization, how we're handling things there, as well as how we're comparing the quotes that the technicians are giving or that the customer service representative folks are giving over the phone for a new work order, how we can manage that to the actuals. So when it comes to entering your case or creating a call, multiple ways that can happen within ServiceMax. There's things leveraging the customer partner community. We can do things such as take an email, create a case or work order directly from that. Things such as product pulse. So a lot of things that we're getting to are machine to machine. So you can have a work order pop up on your screen, communication from a piece of equipment that's out there in the field. We can have that notify someone there internally. And also, for those of you familiar with Salesforce, you have the ability to go ahead and show chatter feeds or have a feed go ahead and create a work order within the system as well. But what we'll do is we're going to do the old-fashioned way. Someone's going to actually pick up the phone and call, and we're going to say Charles Miller gives us a call. And using the global search capabilities, I can see where Charles pops up within here, and he's with the Good Samaritan Hospital. So what we're taking a look at here, this is where we're bringing everything together, that customer 360 visibility, everything that's going on with that customer, and also where we're the beginning point of where we're starting to align sales and marketing. So things from a typical sales marketing standpoint, we've got access to contacts for campaigns, list reporting, things of that nature, opportunities. The things that we add to it where we extend the Force.com platform are locations. Where are these pieces of equipment located at the customer site? What service contracts do they have, right? Cases that they have, case history, so you can see exactly what's going on. Number of work orders, various parts orders that they've had out there, and then most importantly, what are the installed products that they have at the customer site. And to us, this is why we're in business. The installed product is essentially the center of the universe when it comes to field service, right? So Charles Miller, he gives a call. He's got an issue saying, hey, you know what, I've got a problem with my ultrasound machine. As a customer service rep, I might say, well, which one is it? Do you have the serial number? I don't have that, but I think it's in the ultrasound lab. So taking a look over here, I can quickly see there's my ultrasound lab. Here's that piece of equipment, and I can go ahead and pull up that serial number. So right here where we have this installed product, and there's a ton of information that we have on here, and this is kind of the part of that goal that Stacy was referring to as far as capturing information from a marketing standpoint. We've got information about this product such as what's the warranty that's on it? Is it expired? What's the service contract coverage? When it comes to preventive maintenance, are there any preventive maintenance schedules that are out there? A history of cases, history of work orders, or any parts orders that have been done on this, right? So now we've got complete visibility of what's going on. We also have the ability to see, hey, you know what? What's happened from an historical perspective across not just for this customer, but across all products. So we've got where we can embed charts in here, a fixed failure analysis or root cause analysis. And then down below, one of the key things, a couple things you may want to write down here. First is location aware. So we know exactly where this item is at the service location. So when it comes to finding out where we need to go, we can keep track of that. And then also down below where we see our system configuration, this is what not only do we understand what the end product is that we're going to go ahead and work on, but we've also got a deep understanding of everything that's in here. So all these different items that you see in here can also have their own separate preventive maintenance schedule. They can have own separate warranties. So now we have the capability to get deep information, not just about the top-level product, but all the individual items that you see within here. All right, so as I have this information, when we talk about service flow, the ability to have all different types of possible transactions off a particular record, that's what you see here in the service flow bar here. So another way that ServiceMax is this extended Salesforce is the way to, from one screen, create multiple different types of transactions, lookups within the system. And so right from here, I realize, okay, Charles is having an issue. We need to go ahead and create a support case. All right, so here we have our support case. Again, the information that you see here is highly configurable. This information, once gathered, could also be used for marketing purposes. And when Stacy mentioned, in checking entitlement, here we can start to perform on auto entitlement. So, where are we from a contractual standpoint? Are we going to be covered? And we can simply put in a subject. Machine is smoking, really smoking. So we've got a big, big problem with this machine. We're now going to go ahead and save this case. And so the information that you see here now in our case, we're starting to keep track of everything that's going on. So we have our service contract flag, lets us know where we are. And down below, we see our SLA status. So based on the contract or any service level agreement that you have with the customer, the clock is ticking. So here's where we can start to measure ourselves to make sure we're performing flawlessly for our customers. So we can, as we start the process here, but also because we are built on the Force.com platform, we leverage all things such as workflow, right? So for instance, one of the major things within field service organizations is, escalations. How are escalations handled? Well, by simply hitting this one button, automatically we're letting us know by this little arrow here that we've got an escalated case, and our SLA status times have changed based on this case being escalated. All right, so now we have this information. Realize we need to go ahead and send somebody out to this. We can't solve it over the phone. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a work order. So here we have our work order. This work order is going to copy over everything from that case, so we've got visibility all the way out to the technician. And so you can see on here all the information that's been copied. We've got our service contract flag, but also the service level times that are still ticking here. So our on-site restoration and resolution. Not only are we keeping track of what's going to appear for the customer, but also we can set separately our own internal benchmarks that may be even better than this that we want to go ahead and keep track of. Right? Okay, so now that we have this information, I'm going to put my dispatcher hat on. I need to go ahead and schedule and find a technician. So I'm going to go ahead and select my dispatch console. And in doing that, what I want to do is really quickly talk about a few different ways of scheduling for ServiceMax. So what we're going to walk through here shortly is what we call the interactive assignment, right? That's where we're looking at a dispatch console. We're going to find the right technician and assign that technician to the work order. Other ways are manual assignment, where it could be based on a preferred provider, a partner, or preferred technician. Go ahead and manually assign it. Immediate could be based on simple rules that you have, such as for this particular type of a work order, we're always going to send this one technician. And then finally is we call the automatic, or based on some sort of rules that you have set, we can automatically send somebody out and reroute that based on any set of parameters that you have within the system. So back into our, now taking a look at our dispatch console that you see here, this is really divided into 3 different sections. Over in the top section, this is where we have our work order information. So we have just one work order shown here because this is the one that I went from the screen, but we can define and set up our own different views or queues, such as all my work orders or a general dispatch queue. As you can see from the various colors, you can define and set your own parameters as well as far as what's the priority. Is this a high priority, medium priority? So you can define the things that are important to you. I'm going to come back to our work order here. And the next section down below is housing all of our technicians. So here we have a set of teams, and underneath each team is we've got a list of the technicians that we have, the schedule for them, and over on the right-hand side we have the map. So the thing that I want to do when I go to assign, I can either assign I can find a field service team, or I can find my technicians. So by selecting Find Technicians, based on the rules that I have laid out, which is displayed up here, I'm going to assign that right resource or that technician based on location or whatever rules that I may have set up within the system. All that is also attached to the technician record when it comes to matching. So from a technician perspective, we're keeping track of all their skills, certifications that they have, as well as where they're located. So not only are pieces of equipment customer location's location aware, but so are the technicians, so we can know where they are at any point in time. Now, if you notice over on the right-hand side, when I select Find Technician, some things popped up. So the red cross in the middle is where we have our issue. Now, if I notice the other items around, those are the technicians that are close. I'm going to want the closest one, and if I hover over, I see Scott Techman's the one who's the closest there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my work order and find Scott Techman down here and assign Scott to this work order. Right, so on here, we've got some additional description if we want them. We want to put in here for the technician. We see it's work order 3201. We can estimate some drive time into it, as well as the service time that's associated with this type of particular work order. So once I save this transaction, it's now going to be put in the hands of the technician. Right, so what I'm going to do here is come to my iPad device. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through, what a technician might be doing on the field. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and synchronize. So if I'm starting my day, I'm going to go ahead and synchronize my information. But the first thing that I want to talk about, though, is the different ways from a mobile standpoint that we can go ahead and access information. So, we talked a lot about the iPad so far, but for us, it's bring your own device. So whether it's a laptop, a smartphone, or any tablet, we can handle that type of transaction. And we have what we call store and forward capabilities. So your technicians aren't always going to be in a location where they've got connectivity. So we can capture that information, go offline, and when we get connected back up, we can send that information back up to the server when we're completed. All right, so with that, as you can see here, this is my iPad device. So we've got a series of options here. We can create new records, see a list of tasks. What I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead and jump into my calendar. And I can see the work order here, 3201, that's been created. Right? And if you notice, over on the left-hand side, I have tasks that I can keep track of. Here's my work order. You notice that it's red because this is a high priority. So I can go into this work order. One second before I do that, I need to know where I need to go. So I'm going to select my little globe here, and I can get driving directions to where I need to go. So simply by highlighting this work order, I can get driving directions. Will take me where I need to go. And now in here, I've got the details behind my work order. A couple things that I can do. I can see, complete history of what's gone on with it. So I've got some information under my belt before I go in there. Once I'm in there, I've got some troubleshooting capabilities. So if I take a look at here, I can see, are there videos, things that I need to go ahead and see? Any manuals that I may have. So you can capture this information offline, such as, the manual to the Logique ultrasound machine, as well as any guidelines that you may have. Or, of course, chatter capabilities. So for those, folks that have used chatter and been able to leverage it within their organization, we also extend that out to the service tech. So when it comes to reducing first-time fix rates, reducing calls back to the office, other technicians, we can collaborate and follow pieces of equipment so we can see everything that's going on to get that piece of equipment fixed a little bit quicker. Now that I've got some information under my belt, I'm going to go into what we call a work order debrief. And so this is where, we can capture, I've accepted my assignment, my response time. So this is what we're going to start from an SLA perspective to capture things that we need. And here's where now I can start to add parts. So over here, I'm just going to go ahead and look at my inventory. I need an auxiliary adapter. I'm going to need one of these. And as Stacy mentioned before, I don't have to know everything about it from a pricing standpoint. I can just simply hit Get Price based on the contractual agreement that we have, as well as from a labor. So in this case, I'm going to perform a repair. And I'm just going to go ahead and start now. I'm going to add an hour to this. So at least capture some time. Action, Get Price. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform a quick save. So now it's going to pull all this information in so that, I can see exactly what it is. So this is the $99. The repair, based on from a contractual standpoint, I can see that it's going to be $2,500. Right? So now that I have this information, if there's expenses, travel information, I can also enter that information here. She talked about Alfonso, where he was probably taking a picture, so any photos, videos, documents, I can keep track of that information. So at this point in time, I am now ready to save my record, and I can now set up a summary or print a summary, offer the customer, as well as get a customer signature. Off my screen there. Capture my customer signature, and done. And now I can also then email this off to the customer. So I have this information. Here's a service report. Here's all the pricing. I can send this information off to the customer, any additional notes that I have. Now, as a trusted advisor, I'm Charles. I'm sitting out hanging with Charles, and realizing that, hey, you know what? This could have been avoided with a contract. So this, or one of our super extended contracts. So this is where we can create a lead. From here, we can just some options that you can set up. So we can say this is going to be, we want a new service contract here potential, and this is going to be for the Mega Ultimate package, right? And from here, I can go ahead and save this record. And so this is now going to go ahead and create a lead within ServiceMax. So coming back into ServiceMax, I can now refresh my screen, see information on this particular work order. I can see all my notes and attachments. This is the work order that's been sent out, so I know all from internally I can see what work's been done. But then now from an inside sales perspective, I can see what are the leads there that have been created. I can see all open leads that are out there, and I can see over here Charles Miller, this new contract. So this is where I can now take that information and then convert this to do some investigation and potentially convert this to a new opportunity. So in a whirlwind, what we've done is we've tied everything together from a service call that came in, and how now this can eventually turn around, create a new opportunity, and then you can do things such as capture leads by source. We could see that a lot of these were created by field service reports, so or from the field service team. So you can start to see back to what Stacey was talking about from an ROI perspective where we are. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap up and open up to questions.
All right. Thank you for that, Dan. And also thank you, Stacey, for your presentation as well. So we are approaching the top of the hour, so we have time for just a few questions. And so what we'll do is we'll just begin our lightning round of questions. If you do have a question, just type it into the question box provided and click on the submit button. First question is it possible to assign multiple technicians to a work order?
Yes, it is. So in the case that I just went through, you can have multiple technicians assigned to any work order. So yes, you certainly can.
All right. And when you added a part to the work order, are you tracking what the tech used?
Yeah, so when I pulled that auxiliary adapter out of my inventory, so I have all that information, so I don't need to keep track myself. The system is keeping track of that information, and what we're doing is we're managing all of that and then ultimately syncing that back up to the ERP system when it comes to managing, keeping track of safety stock and things of that nature.
All right, and can customers enter cases themselves?
They sure can. So emails can be sent. They can also have through what we call the customer community to come in and enter a case that way.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for playing our lightning round. It looks like we just went a little bit over, but that's okay. Do appreciate your questions. And as we are a little over, that is all the time we have for questions today. We apologize that we were unable to answer all of the questions, but as I stated earlier, all questions will be answered via email. I'd like to thank our speakers today, Stacey Epstein, Chief Marketing Officer at ServiceMax, and Dan Sefarades, Senior Solutions Consultant at ServiceMax. If you'd like to review this event or send it to a colleague, please use the same web address that you used for today's event. It will be archived for 90 days. Plus, as a courtesy, you'll receive an email tomorrow with the web address to view the archive. And just for participating in today's event, you can win this Apple TV. The winner will be announced on August 29th. please visit www.destinationcrm.com to see if you're the winner. This concludes our broadcast. Thank you for joining us.